Hey guys, so unfortunately I'm home today because I fell down the stairs in my garage leaving to go to work, and I think I fudged my ankle up pretty bad. It looks pretty gross. But it's on ice right now. I'm in bed. Just kind of chilling like a villain here. I was watching some Netflix and I realized I'm kind of bored. I really think I should do a video of my cancer journey. So today's a good day to do that. My hair's a mess because I was laying down a little bit. So crying my eyes out this morning. It hurts so bad, guys. Oh my God. I haven't cried like that in a long time. I'm not embarrassed. I cried. I'm a 32-year-old adult that cried when she fell. If you have seen the Life Alert Lady commercials, that's what I look like. I've fallen and I can't get up. I know, it's serious. It's a serious situation. But I looked like her in the bed picture when she's in falling from her bed, except I hit my head on a dumpster. It's so funny because I was telling I was calling my husband this morning and he couldn't get a hold of him. The garage door was opened and it was 4 degrees out. So I'm sitting there freezing, laying on the ground. I can't get up because my ankle was in so much pain I couldn't move it. I still can't move it. So I can kind of, like, it still hurts, but I took some painkillers and it's feeling a little better, like a little bit. I don't know. But I had to call out, and I hate using PTO, so using a PTO day for this was pretty ridiculous. I'm holding my phone because I have no props. So you get to see my beautiful headboard. I don't know, it's just like, I'm sorry for all the shaking. But anyways, I want to get down and talk to you about how my diagnosis of cancer happened. I want to raise awareness because it's important, and colon cancer is literally the #2 cause of death, like, in cancer world. So I believe lung is #1. But anyways, we're going to get down to this. It's going to be gruesome. It's going to be TMI. So if you guys don't want to hear anything detailed like TMI, gross, blood, please leave the video because I don't want to offend or gross anyone out because this is serious. I laugh sometimes, but it's really gross. Like, I don't want to sugarcoat anything for you guys. I am not sugarcoating anything because this is real. This is real. Real. Yeah, my makeup's smeared a little bit, by the way, because I was crying so much. So yeah, I'm not fixing it. My eyes are still bloodshot from crying. I feel like I'm going to cry because it still hurts. I'm still in pain. It's bad. It hurts. Yeah. Well, this is what I look like when I'm crying, when I'm hurt, guys. I'm still hurt. Like, it hurts. I'm not going to the doctor because I don't think it's broken. The ankle is it's not sticking out, but it's like a baseball. I don't know. I don't know how to turn my camera around on here with the selfie mode here. It's weird. It doesn't give me the option to turn around my camera, but I don't want to show you. You can see it. I think I posted on Twitter. It wasn't as bad then. It's worse now. And I've had ice on it since 8 o'clock. And it's almost 10 o'clock. Am I supposed to leave it on that long? I don't know. I'm ricing it. So I can't get up. I used a baseball bat as a cane. Anyways, guys, let's get down to business. Okay, so I want to talk about my cancer journey. This all started, believe it or not, okay, it's 2020. It all started in 2015. And it started, what I think started in, honestly, 2014, I think it started in, but I'm not positive. But 2015 is when I really started, like, getting serious about it. So let's go down to the route of when I lived in Florida. We were living in Florida from 2012 to 2014. I was perfect. No issues. Nothing whatsoever. I was feeling great. I was working out. I was eating healthy. Living that Florida life. Salt life. And Brandon got a job back in Kansas City. I'm from Kansas City originally. Blue Springs. Actually, that's a suburb in Missouri. But yes, he got a job out in Kansas City, and he decided we're going to move back to Missouri, which I was kind of okay with because that's where my friends are and my fam. Well, my parents live in Florida, so I really like not around my family as much. I'm around his family, which is my family because I love them and they're my family. And I'm back with my friends and I've met more friends and that's great. But before all that happened, a week after I quit my job, because I wanted to get packing and do all my last minute Florida bucket list items, like go to Disney World 4 times, then go to Universal Studios. We did Disney probably 10 times when we lived there, but 4 times was within that 10 times. We went to every park. We got the little deal they had in Florida that had like 3 park tickets or 4 park tickets for $150. That's a Florida resident thing only. I don't know if that still happens, but that was back in 2014. So we did that. We YOLO'd like crazy in Florida. We chose Universal Studios over going to the Keys. So we're theme park friends, or freaks friends. Oh god. We did that. So we went to go see my family one last time before moving and had a good old time. I actually chopped all of my hair off into a cute pixie cut. I was drunk, but I wanted to do it. I had photos. I was planning on doing it down there at my parents' house. I was like, I'm going to do this weekend and you're not stopping me. And my husband's like, okay. Well, boyfriend at the time. And so I chopped it all off, even though I was drinking, but that's fine. I don't ever drink that often anymore because of all the stuff that went down. So, I chopped it all off. It was so cute. The top was long. Like I had a cute little swoosh going on here, a little bang. It was adorable. I had the blonde hair. It wasn't as blonde as it was. It was kind of like a strawberry blonde, but it was beautiful. Anyways, left my parents the next day, got home, you know, had a normal day. Everything was fine. That night I had to go to the bathroom. See, this is where I get TMI, guys. This is where it starts. So if you want to leave the video, go ahead now. Warning, warning, warning. I was going to the bathroom and I, for some reason, had some really bad issues going. Like I had to go so bad, but nothing was happening. And this never happens. I always go. So I'm like, I started straining pretty bad, like pushing, which is stupid. My husband's on Skype with friends. I realized that blood was all over the place. I'm like, what was happening was I was having a rectal prolapse, which is where your rectum comes out and hangs out. And I know that's gross. A lot of blood. Yes, guys, it's gross. I called my boyfriend in. I was like, I'm having issues. There's a lot of blood in here. He's like, are you? I'm like, what? Like on my period, basically. I was like, no, I mean, my period's not happening right now at all. This is coming out the other end. So anyways, he had to come in and look because, you know, even though we were dating and living together, it was just like, you know, he cares about me. He's going to come in. And he actually got our doctor friend on the phone. And he thought it was hemorrhoids because he couldn't see it. And I was like, it's sticking out. Like, so anyways, we just kind of, like, he went to the pharmacy and got me a bunch of feminine products, like pads and stuff. And just to kind of hold over, because I was like, I'll wait till the morning and we'll go to the doctor. So I waited a full like 8 hours and we went right in the morning. Like I couldn't even wait. Like it was like midnight when this was happening. So, you know, Florida time, midnight, 10 o'clock in his time, the guy's time, the doctor's time. So we were like, okay. He actually suggested we go to the doctor. So I was like, I'm not going. And Brandon was like, we gotta go. I'm like, I'm not going. See, I'm one of those people. I don't go to the doctor. And like today, when I hurt my ankle, I'm still not going to the doctor. I just don't think it's broken. My husband thinks it's just a sprain, but I thought it was broken. I couldn't move it at all. I can barely move it right now, but if it gets worse throughout the day, I might go. Anyways, back to that. I went to the urgent care. I had no insurance. This is a big thing, guys. I had no insurance. I was working as a server in the restaurant industry before this, and they didn't have insurance for me. So I went to the urgent care. It was like $200 to go in. And the guy's like, you need to go to the emergency room. We can't take care of you. We're going to refund your money. Bless his heart. And so we drove to the ER, and they gave me some morphine, pushed it back in, said I had a rectal prolapse. And they told me, I mean, I followed up with another GI doctor down there, but I was like, I'm moving, you know? And he's like, okay, you know, just watch it. Be careful. If you have it happen again, just go to the doctor. You can probably push it up yourself. Okay. So after that, I was like, okay, so I was very uncomfortable for like the next, I don't know. It lasted like a few weeks. I was pretty uncomfortable and nervous and everything else. And I, you know, from then on, I was having some blood in my stool. So I was thinking like, it's just left over from whatever happened. Okay. I was going to the bathroom more frequently, and I was like, this has to be from this. I mean, I don't know. It wasn't like a bunch of blood. It was just little streaks at the time. So it wasn't like a crap ton of blood. It was just like little streaks here and there. It wasn't like I was wiping a bunch of blood like I was that prolapse. But anyways, like we moved to Missouri. I stayed with my father-in-law for a while because we were waiting to move into our apartment because we bought the apartment, but it wasn't ready for us yet. So we were living with him. I didn't have a job yet. I eventually got a job at Jack Stack, working as a server, still having stomach issues, like going to the bathroom more. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't bloody yet. It was just streaks, but lots of bowel. Like it wasn't even like solids. It was like more of a liquidy, like, I can't explain it. It was like very, very small. Like it was a little bit of like solids in there, but it wasn't much. Sorry, I gotta get a drink. Okay, if I can edit videos, this will be great. I'm gonna learn, guys, I swear. And getting thumbnails, how do I do that? But anyways, let's get back into that. You know, I got the job at Jack Stack, no insurance. So I was like, okay, well, I didn't have a reason to go yet, in my opinion, because everything was fine. I was just going to the bathroom a little more than usual. So I was fine, you know. We moved into our apartment. Everything was great. I ended up getting a second job to pay off a doctor bill that came in from Florida. That was $8,000. Yes, $8,000 for that prolapse visit, guys. No insurance. So I started paying on that. I called them immediately and I said, hey, so I don't have a job. I just got a job. And is there a way I can make payments on this? Because my paycheck is literally, I work as a server, I get tips. And she's like, oh yeah, we'll set up a payment plan. We'll do, I think it was $100 a month on an $8,000 bill. $100 a month is nothing. So, but I didn't know what I could afford. She's like, we'll just do 100 and we'll go from there. And if you can pay more, great. If not, then we'll just do 100. And I was like, okay, I can do this. I will do this. And she's like, okay. So bless her heart for setting me up a payment plan. Because if you guys, just an FYI, if you do get like doctor bills and you can't pay it all at once, make sure you contact your doctor's office, talk to the billing department, and let them know that you can't pay it in full yet. Because some places, my personal doctor's office, St. Luke's, they actually let you set up payment plans. So that way, if you can't pay it all at once, they make you make it like initial payment that's a little higher probably. But after that, as long as you let them know you're making payments on this and you want to set a payment plan up, they will not send you to collections. I made that mistake a few times and forgot to tell them that I was making payments on it, and they sent me to collections, which it never hurt my credit or anything. I just paid it off. As long as you pay it off, I think you're good. And you know, it's scary, but I just want to give you a heads up. Like if you get doctor bills like that, just tell your doctor's office, hey, I can make payments on this, and they'll give you a minimum amount that they hope you can pay on. And I usually make that minimum amount, which is usually no more than $100. I mean, a couple times it's been a little more because they just need that to happen. But I mean, for me personally, I have a steady job now, so it's easier. But anyways, going back to that thing, I talked to them and got that taken care of. Got a second job to help pay for this medical bill, which I got a job at Sunglass Hut selling cute little Prada glasses and Ray-Bans. I loved it. It was a fun little side gig at Macy's. I was working for Macy's, really. And so I'm in pain, guys. That ankle hurts. I took some painkillers, so hopefully it's kind of helping. But I was working that job. I was going to the bathroom frequently still. This was still going on. I was calling to make a payment on this doctor's bill, and they eventually said, "You're good." I was like, they wrote it off. I cried. Don't know why, but they wrote it off. So anyway, that was taken care of, thankfully. I only owed like $6,000 more on that bill out of the 8, I think. It was about 2. I paid $2,000 off at least. Because I was making a little more payments. My husband or boyfriend at the time was kind of helping me with it too. And then I got a job at a bank, which offered some benefits. But honestly, I was like, you know, I wasn't passing blood yet, but I was having frequent stools still. This was going on to 2015. We're hitting that year time frame now. I quit that job and got a different job that offered benefits. And I decided that this time I was going to call a GI, like, colonoscopy department to see if I can get a colonoscopy done, just to see, because I was like, I had a prolapse. I just want to get a follow-up and see if there's anything wrong, because they did this to me and I'm having issues with my bowels now. So they said, no, you need to get a primary care physician to refer you to us. So I was like, fuck. So I called my doctor I haven't spoken to in 3 years because I didn't have a doctor in Florida. I didn't have insurance. And he's like, oh yeah, I'll see you. So I went to go see him, and he's like, seems like me, like I told him, I was like, at this point I was having blood. So I forgot to say that. The last, you know, when I got my newer job, I was like, I'm having blood. So he's like, it's hemorrhoids. You're constipated. There's hemorrhoids. And I'm like, no, I'm going to the bathroom a lot. And he's like, oh, it's hemorrhoids. And so I'm like, and he prescribed me laxatives. And then I said, so can I get a colonoscopy to make sure everything's good? He's like, how old are you? I'm like, I'm 25. You're too young for a colonoscopy. I'm not doing that for you. Like, no, like, you're too young. I was like, what? I mean, I am coming to you for help. Like, I didn't say that part, but I was just thinking in my mind, like, I need help. I didn't say this part yet, but I was about to get laid off. My job actually was laying me off, and they said I'd keep my insurance for like 30 days after the layoff. So that's why I was like, I need to get this done, you know, before my insurance is gone. I got to get this colonoscopy done. You know, and he's like, no, I'm sorry. So I left heartbroken, and I cried, and I was like, I need to figure this out. I don't know what's going on. I couldn't get a second opinion because my insurance was literally going to end pretty soon. So, like dry throat. And so I did what I could do, is ignore it. Ignored it for 2 years. I got my job back. I got another like temp job within the like next 2 months, and it didn't give me insurance, but 3 months later, sorry, my throat's so dry. 3 months later, I got my job back, and my insurance came back to swing. Didn't trust doctors, so obviously I wasn't going back. I just had worse symptoms, just kept happening, just bad. And this is going on, unfortunately, 2 years. 2 years, guys. I ignored this. And it was all because of one doctor. One doctor made me ignore all these symptoms. Like, I was like, okay, he prescribed me laxatives, which I did not take because I was already going quite a bit. I mean, whatever. So in May of 2017, me and my boyfriend at the time, Brandon, decided we wanted to go to Wisconsin and check out the city of Madison. Beautiful city, by the way. If you guys are from Madison, Wisconsin, it's beautiful there. We went, I wanted cheese curds. I love cheese, guys. Cheese is good. So I had cheese curds, got some fish and chips. I drank a lot of beer because I was, I was into that stuff. I didn't drink too much, but I was like, I had my moments. I do love a good beer every once in a while. I think it's okay. Once a week, it's okay, right? But yeah, I was feeling kind of weird when we went there. I was like, I could hear my heartbeat through my ears, and that was weird to me. Like, I was like, this is weird. So, and I was feeling like my heart was just rapid, and I was feeling kind of lightheaded and very weak, and I was just very concerned. I didn't tell Brandon about this until the day after we got there, because we went up the hill, like up a hill to get to where we needed to be. Or walking. And I was like hyperventilating almost. He's like, are you okay? I was like, I can't make it. I feel like I'm going to like faint. And he's like, okay, do we need to like go home? Like literally go and leave? And I was like, I might. And he's like, let's see, just sit here for a minute and collect yourself. And I was like, okay. So I was able to get through it. We ended up going to House in the Rock, and I was fine through the whole time. Go figure, I got a big second win somehow, but I still felt the weirdness. And we went for House in the Rock. We wanted to go there. So it was like, oh, it's so cool, by the way. If you guys haven't seen House in the Rock, go there. It's fun. It's definitely a touristy place, but it's so cool. All the cool, like, oh, you got to check it out. If you're scared of dolls, though, you might not want to do the full tour because there's an area of dolls, and I'm terrified of dolls. Oh, my God. I like stuffed animals, just not creepy dolls. Yeah, it's cool. The carousel is amazing. That's what they're known for. But anyways, going back to that serious stuff. We then, the next day, we were planning on leaving. That night that we were getting back, we drove. We were going to Red Hot Chili Peppers concert, and I was feeling so weak. We went to the Power and Light and ate dinner, and we went to Price Chopper to eat, because they have an area there where they make food there for you and stuff. It was great. And I had to sit on the ground because I was feeling so lightheaded. And I was just like, I don't know. He's like, we need to skip the concert. And I was like, no, I'm not skipping the concert. He's like, oh, we can. And I was like, no. And so we went, and I felt miserable pretty much the whole time. I videoed it so I could remember some of it. And then that night, I couldn't even make it to the car. He had to go he had to go walk to the car himself. And my friend, Patrick, stayed with me, and Colin, and because Braden had to go get the car, I didn't want to leave like a girl out in the street by herself feeling like crap. Thankfully, they were really nice to me and to stay with me. He got the car, and we went back home. And then I think, for this part, I can never remember. I think it was the day after this day or the day of, but I ended up waking Brandon up at 3 a.m. either that week or that week. I don't remember. And I was like, I can't. I'm hyperventilating in my sleep. Like, I was like, I was like lightheaded, feeling my heartbeat in my ears. Like, it was so weird. So we went to the emergency room at 3 a.m. and I went back, and they were like, okay, we need to put an IV in you, get some fluids going. Not sure if you're dehydrated. Didn't know what was going on. Asked me what was going on. I said, I've been passing a lot of blood lately while going to the bathroom. That was the first thing that came out of my mouth. I was feeling like I could hear my heartbeat through my ears. Going to the bathroom a lot. I went to a doctor a couple of years ago. He didn't want to give me a colonoscopy. I told him everything because I was finally seeing a doctor or a nurse. She was a nurse, and she was like, let me bring the doctor back here, get the IV started. I was scared because I was like, I don't do needles. So I was panicking. She was holding my hand. She's a very good nurse. That was the big thing, is the needle. Like, I was like, and I had no idea what I was in for. So the doctor came in. He's like, I got to do a test in your rectum. So shoved up his finger where the sun doesn't shine. And when they did the little test, there was blood in my stool. And so he said, we are going to first, we found out your hemoglobin was at a 7.5, which is not good. It should be between 12 and 14, I think, or 11, 14. I don't remember what it is exactly. I just know that's kind of a normal range, but 7.5 is a no-go. They needed to do a transfusion, so he asked if I would sign off on that, and I did. And then he told me that we were going to do a colonoscopy in a couple days, and I was like, okay, sounds good. I was nervous, but that's what I wanted. So I was real excited to hear a colonoscopy come out of his mouth. Because I was like, it took me to go to the freaking emergency room to get a colonoscopy. That's sad. And so I got admitted because they had to do it in hospital, and they had to do the transfusion. And I finally got a room at around 9 o'clock in the morning because they had to wait for a room. It was 3 a.m. So I called my boss or texted her, and I was like, hey, I can't come in. I'm admitted to a hospital. Don't know what's going on with me. They're good. They were fine. Very flexible. I was cool. So then once I got the room at 9 o'clock in the morning, I was like, oh, I could finally sleep. Ugh. And then blood transfusion happens. I'm woken up out of my sleep, and then they were like, okay, we're doing a transfusion on you. And then I start to fall asleep. It feels weird when you get transfusion. It kind of, I can't say it stings, but it kind of feels that way. Like, it's weird. Like, it felt weird. It didn't make me feel weird, which is a good sign. Like, you should not be feeling weird, or you need to call the nurse in right away. Like, if you're feeling kind of off, because that means it might be having a reaction. They made sure I was okay the whole time. They were coming in frequently. And so did that. And then the next morning I had to do the colonoscopy. So it was 9 o'clock. During the day I was getting the transfusion. I tried to sleep as much as I can, but they were having people come in like every 3 hours pricking me to get blood draw. And I was freaking pissed because I hate needles. I hate needles in the arm especially. So I'm sitting here like freaking out every time, and I'm like, do we really need to do this many? And she's like, I'm like, you just transfused blood in me. Like, now you're leaving it, or you're taking it from me? Like, I was just scared. I was like, oh my God, don't take, So did that. The next day I had to chug some drinks for the colonoscopy, which was fine. They're like, make sure you're pooping and make sure it's clear. And they had to check it and everything like that. And I was good to go into the colonoscopy. They put me to sleep. It is, a situation where they put you to sleep, which is good because you don't remember anything. And I woke up and I had the guy come in my little recovery area, and he's like, well, we found some polyp, and we also found a mass, and it was a pretty large mass. That's probably why you're passing more liquid than you are stool. So we are going to have another person go in and see if they can remove it. So if they cannot remove this mass for the next colonoscopy, which is in a week, then you will have to go through a laparoscopic surgery. I'm thinking, oh, Jesus, surgery? But then I heard the word laparoscopic, however you say that. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing things wrong, guys. I know what that means, which means it's less invasive, which is wonderful. That means I'm not going to have a huge incision down my stomach. It was just little, I'll get there. But anyways, I was like, okay, well, I'd rather have a second colonoscopy to see if this doctor could get it. So, I live my week. I go to work. I'm like, hey, told my boss, hey, I'm going to have to take off a couple days next week because I have my colonoscopy for more testing. And she's like, oh, that's fine. My job is amazing for that. They let me have off so much, and they were so understanding. Thank you. And I go in that next week, get it done, wake up, heard the words, we did a biopsy on the mass, couldn't get it. The biopsy showed no cancer. So I was like, okay, that's great, but we're going to refer you to a GI surgeon. Damn it. So I get to a GI surgeon. He's like explaining the procedure. They're going to do, I think, 5 little incisions. Literally, I would show you my stomach, but I look fat right now. But anyways, if you look at my Instagram, you might see a photo of me with my shirt lifted up to show you all my battle wounds. And I have 5 little incisions and a huge incision. It's about that big under my, where your appendix is. That's another story. And so I got, scheduled to have that done in July 19th of 2017, which was that year. This was all going down in May. So in May, I had all this stuff happen. It's like, oh my God. And then in June, Brandon had a surprise trip planned for us. And I was like, okay, this will be fun. And he's had this trip planned for a long time, apparently. So this was not just because I was having all this going on. This was because he just had this planned. So it was an overnighter trip, and my gut feeling, this is going to go off subject, guys, because I kind of want to tell you guys this story. So my gut feeling was, oh, I wonder if we're going to Chicago. That's my favorite place. And it's an overnight trip. It's not 2 days. It's literally like we're leaving on a Saturday, come back on a Sunday. That is the easiest trip you can do within a day. And he said, I've been there before. So I was thinking, oh, it's Chicago. It's Chicago. So we get to my job that next day, or that day we're leaving. And I'm like, what are we doing at my job at Crown Center? This is not a plane. We better not be staying at the Marriott, or not the Marriott, the Sheraton, or whatever it's called. So I'm sitting here like, we're staying at a staycation. So we walk over to Union Station. I'm like, oh, we're taking a train somewhere. But wait, trains are like longer rides. What? And he gave me this shoebox that was wrapped in stormtrooper wrapping paper. He's like, you're carrying this around with you the whole trip. What? So anyways, we got to Amtrak, checked in, all that jazz, got ready. You know, I've never done this before. I've never been on a train. I saw that we were going to Chicago because it was on the ticket. So I was like, okay, this is awesome. I love Chicago. Yes. Like during the summertime too. So even better. It was Father's Day weekend. I was like, okay. So, sorry about my weird facial expression. I was like, okay. Anyways, we get on the train. Then the guy gets on the intercom and says, we have some damage to the engine. It's going to be 2 hours delay. What? No. So Brandon's like freaking out. He's like, oh my God. I'm like, what? He's like, we can't do this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, we got to leave. I'm like, what? He's like, how fast can you get to the airport? I'm like, what is going on? He's like, well, the plans I have tonight aren't going to happen if we wait 2 hours. We have to get there soon. So I'm like, the shoebox, does it have tickets to Aladdin in there? Because I noticed Aladdin on Broadway was happening that weekend. I love Aladdin. It's my favorite Disney movie. So I was like, okay, we can go to the airport. While I'm driving, he's getting us all set up on the website, like to buy the flight. It was expensive, but I guess worth it. So when he was doing it, we got to the place to get the boarding passes. I said, hey, Brandon, my last name on here twice. My first name's not on here. He's like, oh my God. So we got in line and got it fixed. And then it was like, oh my God. So then we get on the plane. I realized I think I left I don't even know what I left, but I left something behind and I was like mad about it. I don't remember what it was, but anyways, back to that. Got to Chicago. We had our normal Portillo's lunch and I had to carry the shoebox around. Wasn't very happy. We went to hit up the Ferris wheel. The Ferris wheel was closed. Brandon was pissed. Then we hit up, which is on the same area, Navy Piers in the Ferris wheel area, obviously. We go to the area where we tried to go to the area where they have this anchor at the end of the pier where you can see the lake, the whole lake, and it's pretty. And it was closed off because of Father's Day. He was pissed off even more. I'm like, Brandon, can I just open this box now? I'm tired of carrying it. Can I just I want to throw it away. So he's like, oh, fine. We'll have you open the box. Just go over here. And it starts raining. So I'm like, great. Can I go inside? Nope. Opening right now. I open it. There is my stuffed animal Darth Vader in that box, which made sense because my stormtrooper wrapping paper. Darth Vader is holding a Zales box. I'm like, is this an engagement ring? So I open the box, it's empty. I'm sitting here like, are you freaking kidding me, dude? I dropped the box like 4 times, by the way. Like, kept dropping it because it was like annoying. I just kept slipping out of my hands. So he's like, we'll get in there again. Maybe it fell out of there. I was like, okay. So I look in there, nothing. I turn around, he's on one knee with the ring in his hand, like this. And he asked me to marry him. Of course, I said yes. I didn't cry. I was just shocked. I was shaking. There were people around us watching and cheering and all that jazz. And then this woman comes over. She's like, do me just take a picture of you guys, like doing the recreation since you didn't have anyone capture it. And I was like, yeah, if you could. And she's like, okay. So she took my phone, took a picture of us doing that. And I was shaking the whole time. He was going to propose at the signature room on the 95th floor, which is in the Hancock building, I believe. Beautiful views, expensive, dressy. I brought a dress that week and he told me to bring one. And ironically, I brought my like Cubs stuff because I was like, we must be going to Chicago. Like it's June. And I was like, that's kind of funny because I brought all my Chicago stuff with me. Didn't know we were going to Chicago, but it was hopeful. And, so yeah, we did the signature room. The guy was really distant with us because he thought he was proposing at the restaurant. Because Brandon had told the guy on the phone when doing the reservations that he was going to propose. So yeah, that was fun. Anyways, that weekend was fun. The train ride back was smooth. Everything went fine. And the dinner at Signature Room was on point. We had an amazing seafood feast. Very expensive, but it was delicious and worth it. And we loved it. And going back to the story, that happened in June. Okay, so July 19th falls around very closely, or rolls around very closely. So I was told my boss, I'm like, I'm on FMLA now. I got to take 6 weeks off for this surgery. So with this surgery, I had to do by far the worst prep in history. I thought the colonoscopy prep was bad because they give you like, soup. I don't remember what it's called. That's like soup something. And I'm sure I can remember it in the end of the video, hopefully. But yeah, they said I had to go pick all this up. Like I had to get these this glass bottle with this laxative drink. It was like cherry flavored. And then I had to get Miralax and mix it with Gatorade. And I had to take like tablets and do another drink. Guys, I'm back to drinking Gatorade again. Thankfully, it was blue Gatorade, to be exact, that I had to do this with. But I ended up barfing that night, and everything came out fine. Like, I went to the restroom like I was supposed to, and everything came out clear, but I was throwing up a lot because it just made me sick, drinking all of that fluid in that amount of time. So I asked the surgeon the next day, my doctor, surgeon guy, I was like, hey, so I got sick a lot last night. Is that okay? And he's like, I mean, your stomach probably did not like what happened. You know, I don't doubt that you got sick. And the fact that everything came out clear, it made me, you know, it's like, everything was fine. He's like, we're going through surgery. So they get me all prepped, made me do this weird little sponge bath thing with these little towels to wipe off all my lotions if I had any on, just to ensure everything was clean for surgery. And then a guy came in and he's like, we're going to go ahead and give an IV started. And I started freaking out. And he's like, oh no, this is fine. I'm going to have this all quick and easy. He was the coolest guy ever. I remember him. And he like made it so fun. And he's like, we're going to give you drunk meds pretty soon. So you'll be feeling pretty good. So after my husband said bye to me, fiance at the time, said bye to me and sent me on my way, the guy's like, I'm injecting you with the happy meds. You're going to feel good and drunk and happy. So I was like, oh man, this feels nice. Like, I was like real happy. I was like, ooh. And then I guess when I went back to the operating room, I remember talking about my engagement. I was like, oh my God, so Luby, you know, the typical thing. And so that happened. I woke up, everything was fine. My doctor comes in, surgeon doctor, whatever you want to call it, GI surgeon, GI doc, comes in and says, so everything went smoothly. We removed your sigmoid colon laparoscopically along with your appendix. And I'm like, what? My appendix? He's like, yeah, it's a little inflamed. So we decided to take it out. And I was like, okay, I don't need it. And he's like, yeah, you don't need your appendix. You're good. So I was like, because the funny thing is the woman that came in before him said something about appendix. And I was like, are you serious? Yeah, let me meet your doctor to make sure. So yeah, that's why I was like, appendix. Okay, well, that's fine, because I don't have to worry about that anymore. I'm okay with that. I wish I would have asked first, but, you know, honestly, you don't need them. So why? Anyways, after that went down, I was NPO, which is no food, drink, anything. So I was sucking on ice cubes, ice chips, and that's like the one thing I wanted. You know, I was like, I want drink, you know. I mean, they had IV fluids in me, obviously, and painkillers and all that jazz, which I honestly, like, was feeling pretty good. Like, I felt like the pain level I don't remember it being as bad as my ankle right now. Okay, so yeah, the pain level, it was fine. It wasn't terrible. And anyways, going back to the recovery part, I was in the hospital and all of a sudden feeling really nauseous and sick. And I started throwing up a lot to the point where they had to bring a doctor in and give me one of the worst things that I've had to have put up my nose, an NG tube. It's where they put a tube up your nose. I think it goes down because you can actually see, like, it's in your throat. And it goes down and sucks all that stuff out into a little, like a big cup thing. And it's gross. It's like brownish, green, nasty bile stuff. Yeah. So they suck all that out. And I'm sitting there freaking out because they're doing this while I'm awake. And I'm like, not having it. But I didn't like push it away or anything. I was calm. I tried to be as calm as possible, but I was seriously freaking out. And I had a panic attack within minutes of having it in. The nurses, I kept calling the nurse button. I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And it was just like uncomfortable. And I'm not gonna lie, it is one of the most uncomfortable things to have put up your nose, like, or down your, yeah, it's bad. And I was begging for something. I was like, I need something. And they're like, we can't do anything for you. You know, you just have to like kind of deal with it, you know, kind of like, we can't, you got painkillers in you, you know. I'm like, do you guys have anything to calm me down? She's like, let me go talk to the doctor and see what we can do for you. Cause that you didn't say. Cause like, I didn't mention like, can you give me like sedative or something, like something to calm me down. So anyway, they go get it. They give it to me and I'm immediately starting to feel better. Like, I'm like, okay. You know, and I eventually it's thunderstorming out. So I'm more, you know, that's got me on edge even more. Cause it's like lightning and thunder everywhere. I'm like, oh my God, it's like a nightmare. I'm already scared of hospitals, like movies and stuff. So yeah, that happened the next day. Everything ended up being pretty good. They took it out, which is great. And I think I had to force food down to be discharged. So that same day, I think I was discharged. They had a guy come in. I think it was a doctor. I'm sure it was a doctor. And he sat down calmly, kind of looking. He had a nurse with him. And I was like, this kind of, you know, normal, I guess. He sat down, though, immediately, which was kind of odd. And he's like, so when we did the biopsy on the mass that we took out, we found cancer. And we took out 28 of your lymph nodes. And it had 1 lymph node involving the cancer. So he's like, I'm so sorry. You know, do you have any questions for me? And I'm just like, I mean, what do I do now? I mean, I'm good. Like, what's next? That's exactly how I kind of did it. I was like, okay, what next? Do I do chemo? You know, obviously something. And he's like, yeah, we're going to bring in an on-site oncologist. And, you know, he came over to me, put his hand on my hand, like, just to comfort me. And I was like, oh, I'm good, you know. He's like, well, you're taking this really well. And I was like, you know, I really think I'm young enough to fight this. Like, I was just like, I can do this. I mean, I'm not too, only thing I'm worried about is losing my hair because I'm getting married next year. I just got engaged a month ago. He's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, you know, shit happens. That's what I said. I was like, I'm like a weirdo, guys. Most people cry. I did not shed a tear at all. Not delivering the news. I immediately called. I don't remember who I called first, but I think I either called my mom or I called Brandon. And I just casually said, I have cancer. I didn't even like sugarcoat it. I just said, I have cancer in my colon. Like, I didn't even like think about it first. I was like, so I have cancer. Like, didn't think about their feelings, nothing. Just called and said, I have cancer. Sorry, I suck. Sucks to suck. So, you know, my husband comes in with his mother-in-law. I mean, with my mother-in-law. My mom lived in Florida. Still does. And I'm stuffed up, guys. That's why I'm like trying to clear myself out here because I've been stuffed for over 2 weeks now. Anyways, you know, they came, and then this really nice doctor comes in, oncologist, very nice guy, pretty down to earth, you know. He's like, so first thing I want to ask you, do you have any questions for me before I begin? And I was like, am I gonna lose my hair? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, that's all I want to know. What else do you got? So he explained to me what's going down. He's like, you're going to meet your actual oncologist. I'm not going to be your doctor, but you're going to meet your other oncologist in a couple weeks or whatever. And then we're going to go started with that. You're going to go through treatment. You've got stage 3 cancer because it involved a lymph node. So I was like, okay, you know, that's scary, but what can you do? And I said, am I going to have surgery? Like, any more surgeries? And they're like, no, just chemo right now until we figure out what else is going on. You know, he might want to do some other scans on you. He might want to do, you know, da-da-da-da. So, you know, after that, I went home, healed for 6 weeks. In that meantime, I had to figure out how I was going to tell other people. So I got on Facebook and I did a post. I was like, hey, guys, went to the, you know, you guys, as you know, I was going through some issues with surgeries and stuff. I found out I have stage 3 colon cancer and I'm going to beat it. I made this huge long post. I don't have Facebook anymore. I deleted it because I'm tired of the ridiculous drama on there. So, and trolls. I don't get that on Instagram or Twitter. I get the nice people on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you guys for being so supportive. I love you. And, so you know, the 6 weeks go by pretty quick. I go to work, get flowers on my table, because everyone knew, because someone in my work was following me on Facebook. She told some people, which is good, because I love the support. They got me flowers and a card, and I cried, and that was the first time I cried the whole time. Oh, actually, scroll back. I cried because in this meantime, I forgot to mention, I met my oncologist, my wonderful, amazing, no longer existent oncologist. He wanted me to go through some genetic testing and some other scans and fertility treatment, just to go check it out, see if I left that fertility clinic crying. I didn't go through with it. It was like expensive. So I said, no, not worth it. Not worth it. No. Genetic counseling. I went through the counseling part, didn't do the testing, which I should have. I probably will do it eventually. It's not too late. I can still get it done. And 4, I got to fix my ice pack. It's starting to go on a spot where it shouldn't be going. Okay, so, oh my mother fudgers. This is painful. Okay, so anyways, I saw all those people. Then I went to my oncologist. He scheduled me the scans and everything. And then I got a CT scan on my whole body. And when the results came back, he called me immediately and said, we saw something on your liver. Do you take Ortro? Like, he asked me if I took, like, birth control, basically. And I said, yeah, for cramping and just, And so he also found something in my chest, my breast area. And so I was like, yeah, that has been there for years. I've had a calcification there for years, since I was probably 17, 18 years old. And I frequently check because I know, I'm like, okay. And so he scheduled me a mammogram just to be safe. I never had one of those before. I had an ultrasound to figure that out. And then scheduled me a MRI for the liver area. And then I got those done. I got the mammogram done first, and that showed everything was fine. It was just that calcification, and it was good, nothing wrong. He said, come back in 10 years. Okay. So then the MRI went smoothly. Then they said, he called me back and said, yeah, we think it's cancer. Come back in, when you have your appointment. We're not going to do chemo, because we were going to get chemo done literally right after that. And he said, we're going to skip chemo. We need to think about some treatment plans here. Because of all those scans going on. So, when I finally saw him again guys, okay, this is going to have to stop for now. Not the video, but the ice, because I'm having a hard time keeping the ice on because it's melting. If I could edit this, that'd be great. Okay. Ooh, that is big. Okay, sorry guys. I'm just going to have to deal. It's numb right now because it's, iced. But anyways, let's go back to talking to my oncologist. He told me the treatment plans. I had options. First off, I had to get a port placement. So we talked about the port placement. That is a little thing that goes underneath your skin right here. I currently don't have, sorry. There's the scar. I don't have the port anymore. And because I'm done with cancer, chemo, whatever you want to call it. And I, it's like, okay, yeah, I'll get a port. It is the best thing ever. And so it saves your veins in your arms. It really does. It's a little plastic piece of something that goes, it's like a thing that goes to your heart to get all the blood and deliver the chemo and anything really, testing, whatever. So, excuse me. And so, after that, he's like, okay, so we have 2 options for you. We have the treatment called FOLFOX. That treatment is basically you carry a pump home for 46 hours, and it is called 5-FU or Fluorocell or equivalent. And then you stay here, or I'm sorry, oh my God. First thing is you sit in the chair, you get Lucraven for the first 30 minutes, I think. Then you get your oxaliplatin, which is like why they call it FOLFOX. I think that's what the abbreviation is. And so oxaliplatin is the one that just drips in your IV, or it's IV, you know, in your port for 2 hours or an hour and a half, I think. I don't remember how long it is. It took forever, it felt like. And then they do a push of 5-FU. It's in a little syringe. They push it in your port, like a little IV thing sticking out. And then they hook you up to the pump, which has the same stuff in it. And that goes on for 46 hours. So once the 46 hours is done, you go back to the infusion. You take that home with you, by the way. That's the pump that you take home with you. And it infuses you at home. Or if like for me, I did the pump obviously, but I did both ways. I might as well say that now. I did try both. So yeah, the pump comes off after 46 hours. You go to the infusion center. They detach you, get fluids typically. Because for me personally, I could not keep fluids down at all. So I chose Capox, which is the other option he gave me. Capox is capecitabine pills and oxaliplatin. I chose that because I thought it'd be easier for me. And you take a bunch of pills, like I think it's 6. I might be wrong. Oh my God. 6 a day, 2 morning, 2 mid-afternoon, 2 at night. I think that's how it worked. It was 3 times a day. I do know that. So that, and then oxaliplatin is what you go in for the day and do that. So that lighting is really bad on me right now. Anyways, did that. I went in, we did the oxaliplatin, and I realized while I was doing that, I was sipping on some water like this. And while I was doing that, I noticed that it felt like shards of glass were going through my throat. So that is a common side effect if you drink cold beverages during oxaliplatin or after the treatment's done. You don't drink, don't touch, don't do anything with cold beverages or cold stuff in general. No ice cream. Unless you want to be torturing yourself. So, it was really rough. I sounded like Yoda. I was like, oh, I sound like Yoda. There's your laugh of the day. Yeah, so I called my nurse over immediately because I was freaking out. I was like, what is going on? She's like, you have cold water right there, don't you? And I was like, yeah. She's like, you're bad. You're not supposed to do that. You should have known better. And I was like, I read the directions. I just forgot. So, I, was just fine, and then within a few minutes after, like maybe almost done with my treatment, maybe even close to being done, I felt really dizzy. I was like, why am I so dizzy? So, I told my nurse I was dizzy, and she's like, okay, let me take your blood pressure. Let's do a bunch of tests real quick. So we're not letting you go home until you feel better. And so, even though my husband was driving, but I was at a hospital already. So, make sure she feels good before she leaves, obviously. I didn't feel any better. So she called my oncologist over, and he seemed to think he might have overdosed me a little bit. Like, I think he said he gave me a regular dose of treatment and it was normal, but like, I guess it was too much for my body for the first time. So I was like, that's fine. I'm glad you're doing that because at least you're trying to kill the cancer cells. It was like really funny. They tried to force some food down me, before I left. I'm like, I'm not even hungry. And then I had this thing called, what I call is called first bite syndrome. I call it that. I think that is a thing though. I read it online. And it's where you take a first bite of a food and your jaw's in a lot of pain. And I was like, ow. So yeah, that wasn't fun. So after that, I left. I was fine. I ended up being okay enough to go home. And so we went home. I started taking the capecitabine pills. I took my first dose. I was fine. Next morning comes, I get to work. I bring 2 bananas because it says you need to take it with food. So I bring 2 bananas with me to work because I'm like, I feel good enough to go to work today. I'm going to go to work day after treatment. So that's with oxaliplatin, and then I brought the capecitabine with me. So I'm sitting here scarfing down 2 bananas. And I take the pills. Not even 5 seconds later, I'm running to the bathroom. Up they came. Everything. Bananas, everything. So I noticed, I'm like, I can't stay at work. I'm throwing up. I got sick twice. And I immediately called my nurse, on-call nurse or whatever. And she's like, we're getting you in today for fluids. We're going to see what's going on. So I went in, got fluids, everything was fine. And she's like, yeah, just, I guess, continue taking it. So I did. I took one at night. Not even a minute later, got sick again on the second round of pills. Or I guess this was yeah, I don't remember shit. Anyways, got sick. Brandon called the doctor, on-call oncologist, because I'm like, I can't keep these pills down. It's chemo. I mean, that's bad. Can't keep my pills down. So he calls them and they're like, stop it, stop everything and just come in, go to the ER, go to the hospital because they need to figure something out. So we stop everything, go to the hospital. They admit me, of course. I'm pissed. And they did access my port, which was nice. They still had to give me some blood draw on my arm, which whatever. They had to do some weird things. So they admitted me, and I had a really nice room. I had a huge shower in there. Yeah, so I got admitted, and then, you know, that night just kind of slept in and out of sleep, got blood draw throughout the night. Next day, kind of walked around, because I was fine. It's just I was throwing up. I only threw up that one time, then went to the hospital. I was fine, because I wasn't on my Hepcidin pill. I just had the cold sensitivity in my throat, so I couldn't drink anything, you know. I told them, I was like, I can't have cold water, because I wasn't NPO, really. I was able to drink and eat and stuff eventually, so it was like, okay. But, I got a phone call, like, late at night the next day. Like, next night I was trying to sleep. I was actually in a full sleep. And then one of the nurses comes in with a phone, and it's my doctor. It's my oncologist. He's like, how are you doing? And I'm like, it's 10:30 at night. I'm sleeping. Like, it's no big deal. But I was, like, happy to hear from him because it was like, okay, I've been talking to all these randos, and I don't know what to do. And so he's like, we're stopping everything, and we're going to get you on the pump if that's okay. And I was like, whatever you need to do. That's fine. Like, at that point, I was like, we're not doing this stupid pill situation. Not anymore. No. So I, you know, talked to him. I felt better. Everything was fine after I spoke to him. I was like, thank God. Finally get some sense talking to me. So then, you know, next day comes, this other oncologist comes in and he's like, we're going to try to get some of those capecitabine pills in you. Is that okay? I was like, no. He's like, why not? And I was like, my doctor called last night, told me to stop everything. And he's like, what? I was like, yeah. He told me to stop it. We're not doing this. And he's like, looking at me all weird. And I was like, you don't believe me, call him. You know, kind of thing. So, you know, I got discharged that day. I was happy about that. But anyway, that all went down. And so that next part is I got on the pump and everything started going better. Like treatment 2 was like just the pump, because he gave me so much oxaliplatin that it was like, we're not doing it this time. So we did the pump by itself, and I actually went to work with it and I was fine. The pump was pretty easy. I nicknamed it Poppy the Pump, like Big Poppy from Red Sox. I love that guy. Hello, David Ortiz. How are you? And yeah, I called it Poppy the Pump. And so that thing I carried around like embarrassing, but it was like, you know, the only thing that really made me sick is just having it hooked to me for 46 hours. I couldn't shower. Like, if I really wanted to, I could have taken like a sponge bath, which I felt like I didn't need to. I did on occasion, but like I couldn't wash my hair, and I'm one of those people that washes it every other day or so, maybe even every day, depending on how I feel. And it just like was miserable. I did not like that pump, and even though it's saving my life, the sound of it, it sounds like a soap dispenser whenever it dispenses it's like bzz. And then at night, and oh, when you're in bed and you have to go to the bathroom at night and you forget about it, and you yeah, it yanks on your, it's kind of gross. But yeah, you forget about it. Then you're like, oh, I can't leave. The pump's right there. And that's the other thing. I like to sleep on my side. So having the port right here, I couldn't really sleep on my side when I had it hooked because it felt weird. But yeah, it was fine. I can't complain too much about the pump. I just hated carrying around. I actually really stayed home the whole time I had the pump on me. I never really, that one time I went to work, but other than that, I was like, I'm not getting out of the house. I took off Thursday through Sunday from work. Like, I don't work weekends, but I took Thursday off for infusion, and then Friday I knew I was going to feel like crap. And Saturday feel like crap. Sunday got the pump removed, and I usually felt, no, Saturday got the pump removed, I'm sorry. Usually felt kind of icky on Saturday, and Sunday I started snapping out of it, but I still had that cold sensitivity from oxaliplatin. So yes, that is all the treatment I went through, and I went through about, there's supposed to be 12 rounds total. So I got 12, almost 12 rounds, because we will get into that in another video. But yes, I kind of wanted to explain that first whole treatment and surgery to you. This is an hour in, I apologize, and I appreciate you for staying as long as you can, but, or could. If I can edit this in any way, I will, but if not, I am so sorry, guys. I appreciate you listening to my part 1 of story. I will try to do part 2 soon. I might even try it today and just post it another day. It might be in the same outfit. Who knows? I don't know. We'll figure it out. I just didn't want to keep you guys on an hour and 30, 45, 2-hour minute. It's a long story, but I really want to tell you guys like what I had to go through to get told I was stage 4 colon cancer. So that's that. I appreciate you watching. I look like crap right now because I'm laying in bed and my ankle hurts and I need to figure out how I'm going to ice this because it is in a lot of pain. So thanks for watching, guys. Like and subscribe, and I will post another one soon. Bye.